and welcome back to Mad's World. Today I'm joined by the lovely Lana McBackwards.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so happy that you've come on the podcast, and you're such a positive vibe this morning, and I've just had this crap morning. I'm like, this is so fun.
Look, drugs go a long way.
And you said you're up till 4 a.m. last night because you do music as well as comedy stuff?
It wasn't because of music. Well, partially. I was actually out at a lesbian speed dating event.
How was that?
Well, I accidentally double booked myself and was doing band rehearsals and recording.
Yeah.
And then that overlapped with speed dating, which I didn't even know was speed dating. It was just called Mates and Dates.
Oh my God. And it was timed
and then it was
stuff.
it was actually a 3-minute speed dating thing. So I went there.
Yeah.
And it was a booked venue, lots of people there. And I realized I rocked up in the last hour of the 3-hour slot. And people are obviously grouped up or talking in groups, and I'm just this one stranger that walked in. I bought a ticket for $50.
What?
Well, it was ticketed. It's the only way you could get in.
Was there anyone nice there?
Oh yeah, I ended up talking to people, but it was just funny because people were I don't remember talking to you in the speed date. I'm I got here 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
What's
late.
your name? And then I noticed people had bits of paper.
Yeah.
Which it was really cool. It was a little table that you could put someone's name, notes about them, and then kind of tick if they had a sticker on them saying if they were interested in looking for mates or for dates.
Ooh.
So what I ended up using that and interviewing people because we went to a pub afterwards.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I was I'm Mr. Speed Dating. Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you want me to know about you? And there was a good entry into meeting strangers, and they relax and whatnot.
That's so fun. I've actually never done speed dating, but I've only really
you
seen
literally
it
do
on
a dating podcast. You've never done speed dating.
I know, and I feel it's speed dating but for an hour with a guest. Sometimes I'm kind of okay, we're on a 60-minute get to know you sesh,
Well, what if you did you got 20 guests, 3 minutes, and they just got up and off the chair?
I need to hire you as a creative ideas person.
I just throw shit at walls and see what sticks.
I love that. I mean, that's
I'm a monkey.
That's literally just creativity, isn't it? It's trying to be an artist. And I love the way, so I kind of did a call out and was if anyone's into comedy or wants to be a guest, because it's actually quite a hustle finding guests that live in your town. And I've done, I was telling you that I've done the podcast virtually for years and years and years. And now I'm doing video. I'm I need people in person because it just so much better. And then you reached out, and I just love how confident you were, and talking about getting into comedy and stuff. Have you always been super confident, or is it something that kind of came out of your trans journey?
Well, I guess I see two elements to that question of being a comedian and then my identity of being trans.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel my family is just very funny and witty all the time. And I feel I kind of learnt sarcasm and wit and humor before I fully understood English. I still don't understand English. It's a stupid language. And even then, as a family, so I'm one of 3. I've got an older and younger sibling. Every Melbourne Comedy Festival, we would go and see a comedian. Yeah. And it's not a very common family activity, right? Given some of the subject material.
That's so true.
I can't remember what ages and whatnot, or if we went every year, but I think that was definitely a part of it. And watching, you kind of absorb everything around you. So sitcoms and whatnot. I remember my younger sibling would laugh along to the Seinfeld laugh tracks or Frasier ones without actually understanding the jokes.
Oh, you know what? I feel a lot of people do that because I feel one of my ex-boyfriends used to do it, and I'd be I don't get it. And he'd be oh, neither. And he'd be laughing. I'd be what? Or
I just thought everyone else did this.
Yeah. Or at a
human
comedy,
emotion.
Literally at a comedy show, you'll laugh at something and I'll be oh, I don't get it. And they'll just be shh, me neither. And you're okay. I'm just laughing because it's on cue. So random.
They could be in a totally different world, just thinking of some other thing and just laughing at that. It just coincidentally lines up with someone telling a punchline.
Yeah. And do you think that that sort of background with your family and having that fun rapport and humor and stuff, that's how has that shaped your journey with being trans?
Well, I think I personally use humor as dare I say, a shield and a sword. So I can kind of disarm people with wit and whatnot, or play dumb. And I think like I have also grown up my whole life, people being like, oh, you could be a comedian. And I've been like, oh, maybe, but they're very I'm perfectionist about it, being like, oh, but it's a skill, it takes a long time to get there, and if I'm gonna do it, I'll be really good at it, or like I love all the like lots of different international national acts, but I also think like the way I kind of do, my existence is trans advocacy, because like 1% of the population is trans. I didn't know any trans people growing up. So I feel like just to get people on side, even if they are confused about who you are or any differences, like if you're funny, they don't care.
It's so true. And this is why I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, because obviously there's so much like political discourse going on, and then, all of that negative stuff. But I feel like I'm excited to just have a positive, fun conversation, because that's like how you get through to people, and how like it sounds so silly, but how they can like understand you and relate to you better. And it's just like when we're not talking about like an abstract concept, we're talking about like just like people.
I guess there are a lot of terms that kind of like, for example, like gender ideology. It's like, well, gender exists whether you believe in it or not.
Yeah, like it is real.
So a lot of like, I think fundamentally, if someone doesn't understand that gender exists and gender is different from sex, then you don't understand what being transgender is, or transgender people. So like cisgender people, the gender they're assigned at birth aligns with, I don't want to say biological sex, because there's lots of caveats and differences, and it's not binary. There's
100%
lots of different variations in nature.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time the two are sort of conflated. So I just think people don't think about it or question it until a trans person comes along, or someone comes along that doesn't fit the societal narrative, and the unknown is scary. Yeah,
people are just afraid of what they don't know. And I think like if we think back to, other bigger things that were questioned over the years, it's sort of like it always starts off with discourse, and then it just becomes more and more like people come out and they're like, oh, this has been my identity the whole time. I just like didn't feel comfortable to share it, or, it's like hopefully like the conversation and stuff, it's just like the start of something great,
Yeah, like respect goes a long way, like with anyone that's different in society.
That's it.
So, just treat me, I'm a human first, right?
Literally. And just like a funny comedian, slay queen, And you had a really interesting thing on your Instagram, which I'm obsessed with, which was you were like, just ask me anything. The you can't ask that like section, and like I think it would be great to know from you, like just in general and in your life, like what are the things that people ask you the most about being trans, and like what comes up most often, and you're just like, how, like, because people don't feel comfortable that they can just ask tough questions about stuff, and they don't know like what word, like what terminology to use and what's appropriate and stuff, and then so I'd love to know from you that.
So I'm very lucky in that when I came out, like my family and friends were all super supportive.
That's awesome.
And like I didn't lose anyone, right? So
that's so good.
I also feel because of that, I didn't get a lot of kind of questions, and me being me, I was like, no, ask me stuff. Come on, like bring it on. Just because I like to kind of mess with people, because it's just funny.
It's good fun. It helps you explore it as well, because then you can talk about it out loud for like probably the first time ever if you were,
I like making people laugh, and I just, in a way it's kind of like another avenue for comedy. So I did have this idea when I had bottom surgery. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be sitting on my ass for weeks. I need some project to do. Maybe I will start a podcast.
Love that.
So and then also as part of just like advocacy and on like trans visibility days, I was like, I'll just open the floor to questions people can feel comfortable asking anonymously. And I'll just answer them like just bluntly and honestly.
That's so generous of you as well, because I feel like so many people just want to ask stuff, and like half the time it's probably like weird invasive stuff, or they feel like it is, and it's like how are they going to learn? But it's generous of you to do that.
I don't Oh, thank you. But I also think that at the individual level, even people that don't have a public profile, they're afraid of getting, dare I say, cancelled. Like, if you ask questions in good faith, even if your language is clunky or problematic, but you're willing to learn and grow, that's okay. And I think it's important to give people the space to do that, because otherwise it's very black and white and divisive, and you kind of see it particularly online and in the media, or very kind of inflammatory back and forth. Us and them, and
there's just no way we're going to come to
there's no nuance.
Like whenever there's no grey area and there's no room for like discussion, because people will just hear someone's point of view and just go, I'm not willing to engage with you because you disagree with my point of view. And like, how are we ever going to find like a place where we can comfortably talk about things?
Because it also ties back to like respect and human dignity, like, and I completely empathize with people who, being different or trans or any other thing like disabilities, like you don't, being asked questions is like frustrating. It's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. Like sometimes you don't have the energy and capacity to do it, and you're like, well, you literally have the compendium of human knowledge, like all human knowledge on the internet,
like Google
in your pocket. Yeah, exactly. Like literally. So last night I met someone and like the lesbian speed dating thing, and we're just talking. I'm like, any questions? I'm gonna open the floor to like trans questions. And like, well, I can just Google stuff. I'm like, fair. No one's ever said that.
Good for her, honestly.
So I kind of did that, for advocacy, because people weren't asking me questions, and I was like, surely you got questions, like,
true.
And I'm happy to like, crack a joke in there somewhere.
And if you make other people feel comfortable, then that helps you as well to feel comfortable in your own skin, because like that they're like willing to look for an understanding and like understand your identity and your point of view of the world and stuff like that. I feel like that's quite
it shows
nice.
People. It's a way of like showing people care, because if they ask questions, they want to know an answer, right? I guess like I think part of the question was like common questions I get.
So what are your most common questions?
I don't really get them. I think the most common one is, well, how did you know?
Yeah,
there's no objective way.
That was going to be one of mine. Is like, was there a moment when things clicked, or was it like a slow process, or was it like you just kind of looked in the mirror one day and you're like, okay, I'm Lana, like that's me. You know?
No, so I can say with like the benefit of 2020 hindsight that I definitely had signs of being trans from like age 12, 13.
Okay.
And how that ended up like manifesting back then. So I was kind of, I say like oblivious for a long time, like 12 years, because I came out at like 25, and I say I joined the dots because I was like oblivious and didn't realize. But I basically just thought I had a cross-dressing kink.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I can wear women's clothes. That could be great. Like even in like a, an intimacy context with a partner, like whatever. But then I was also so like ashamed about it. I'm like, well, this is a thing I have to keep until, my grave, and no one must know about this.
Yeah. That's the thing with kinks. It's like once you're in a community, it's so normal, it's so fun, and it's just whatever. But
there's like a, there's a shame element, and then there's also like things that are taboo and more exciting.
Yeah, totally.
So basically I put it in it's just the kink, and it's a shameful kink box. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And
compartmentalized it.
Yeah. So when was it? 2020, nothing major happened that year except for COVID.
It was quite chill.
So I was in a long-term relationship with a lovely cis woman.
Is this pre-transition, sorry?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were dating for 2-3 years. She was living in Canberra. I ended up visiting her after the first 3-month Melbourne lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could like work remotely and visit you for like, I don't know, 3 weeks or whatever. And then, pop back.
Yeah.
The borders closed and I was stuck there. So I ended up moving in with her, which was always the plan.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out that way. But it was also the first time I'd moved out of home.
Yeah, okay.
And, she's bisexual. She was kind of very open-minded, left-leaning, very awesome, wholesome person.
Aww.
So what ended up happening was like, you don't care if I like cross-dress.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's you can do that. So I did that. And then I did that for several days in a row.
Oh, just in the house.
Because like I didn't need to have like my camera on during work. It was just like an office job, right?
I love this. COVID did you solid.
There are a lot of people that, you know, had epiphanies during COVID. And I feel like this is tangential. COVID got the ball rolling, but it wasn't because of it.
It gave you an opportunity.
I hate the idea of just giving COVID power, being like, oh yeah, during COVID, I like wiped everything out.
Yeah, like, literally.
No, it was more because I moved out.
Yeah, it did change a lot of things. It's changed the way that we work, the way that we commute, the way we buy clothes and food. Like it's really
supply chains. Yeah, my online orders.
Honestly, it's shifted everything. But like, I feel like it gave you the opportunity and the space to explore something like in your own house.
Because I lived prior to then, up until 25, I lived at home with my parents and like my younger sibling the whole time, and an older sister that moved out like 10 years prior. So yeah, I did that. I cross-dressed several days in a row, and then she, like, no one ever asked me this. She said, "Are you sure you're not trans?"
Really?
Yeah, like just.
Your girlfriend asked you? Really?
Like 3 years into our 6-year relationship, and I just went, so
the penny dropped.
Kind of. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should look into this more.
Yeah, okay.
Because I also had assumed that trans people just either, know when they're 5 years old through some sort of magical wizardry or alchemy, or they're, 50 years old, have had a lifetime of struggling and other issues and whatnot, and then it all comes to a head, and then they divorce and then find themselves. So I was like, I'm
feeling really emotional for you. I'm just like, I just feel so like I feel so proud and happy for you that you've like just figured it out.
Well, I mean, I was very privileged to be in an environment where I could explore that. There are many people who can't, and there are many things happening globally which kind of it feels like that space is getting smaller and smaller.
That's the thing. People think once we achieve equality, it's like, great, we've ticked that off. Okay, now we can move on to the next thing. It's like, no, it can regress. Like, and with women's rights, like with abortion rights and stuff as well. It's like we don't just meet it. Like people are actively fighting against things. Like that's why we have to keep, campaigning and like raising awareness and doing activism. Yeah,
there are many civil rights movements that happen through people actively campaigning.
Exactly. And it doesn't just stop once you achieve
progress is never linear. There's always going to be, I guess, with any change to the status quo of society, there's going to be resistance from some people.
It's nuanced. Like we said, there's grey area for everything. Yeah. It's like a slow process.
Yeah. So, cross-dressed many days. Partner asked me direct if I was trans, and then I kind of looked into it and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh my God.
And then I ended up, I realized I had two close female friends in Melbourne because I just moved to Canberra. It was like within the 2 or 3 months of me moving there, I didn't really know anyone either.
Oh my God.
In that the only people I knew at the time were like my partner's friends.
Sometimes it takes a big change and then you're like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, like when you went to the UK, you could have acted as a man or a non-binary person.
And I acted as a slut, really.
What do you mean acting? That was real. They were real, weren't they?
Who I wanted to be. Like, because I was literally just like, there's no one in my hometown, because I wasn't bullied in school, but I was a massive, like, I was in the accelerated class because I was smart, and like, I was really ugly and gangly and like,
what?
I was just bullied. Like, I wasn't bullied, but I wasn't like cool.
So you stood out you weren't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, I think I just kind of like, I was always scared in my hometown to like, and tall poppy syndrome in Australia is so rampant. Like people just hate to see other people doing well. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like,
is it not negging?
I don't know. I think people are just bitches.
Yeah.
Like
people are bitches.
Literally,
Maddie.
Quote, people are fucking bitches. Like, and I'm talking about all genders.
Wait till you hear about female dogs.
Honestly.
They're the biggest bitches.
Biggest bitches I've ever met.
Great dates.
Honestly. They're huge bitches. That's so good. But yeah,
it's so good at derailing people.
No, it's ADHD. Like if you whenever I interview someone else with ADHD, I'm like, fuck, this is good. I don't know where we're gonna go with this?
Oh yeah, I gotta address the neurospicy as well. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Once I finish one anecdote.
Honestly.
So
and then
so I was talking to female friends. So 1 week I said, I think I'm a cross dresser. Just wanted to like share this with someone.
Yeah.
Then the next week I was like, I think I'm gender fluid and I might pick and choose between different expressions of gender identity. Yeah. And then the next week after that I was like, nah, I'm just trans.
I feel
it was so funny reading that back. You're like, okay.
That's so funny. But it's also like they may have known as well, and then they're kind of like waiting for you to like figure it out.
Well, no, not at all.
Oh, really?
So after that, I also looked at it was I think it's called gender hypotheticals, and it's like these list of hypothetical questions. So they're very interesting, and I think everyone should explore their gender, sexuality, any identity is fluid. It's not static. It's life. It changes. Who I am after this podcast is a different person philosophically from the woman who walked into this room.
Oh my God, you're really good at rolling your R's.
Yeah, I love Matt Berry and how he puts random emphasis on things. It's a really funny way. So what was it? Gender hypotheticals. So
ask me some of them.
They're questions like, okay, you're stranded on a desert island, no one's around. Yeah. 2 boxes of clothes whilst you're sure. One is, mask clothes, one's femme clothes. What do you wear and why?
Mask, because that's how I dress all the time, but also practicality.
Yeah, you are the Undertaker.
Yeah, literally. How cool. This was $1 at Camberwell Market. Is it the sickest jumper?
Hell yeah.
Right? It's like my favourite jumper ever.
Do you reckon like morticians wear Undertaker stuff?
Probably. Like, why wouldn't they?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The hygiene.
Yeah, probably they have to wear like scrubs. I don't know, but...
Anyways, gender hypotheticals. So it gets you to kind of ask questions of your own gender in different ways. And then there's stuff like, okay, one box has a guard in front of it and they say you can't you can't wear the clothes in this box. How does that make you feel? And then there are other questions like,
I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah, no, I'll send you a link, or like we can add it to the description. Because I used to, when I was talking to like, even in some of my dating experiences, I'm talking to people and I'm like, you're saying things that sound very trans.
Okay.
Are you, like, here's a list of gender hypotheticals.
That's fascinating. I really want to do that.
Yeah. So when I did that, I was like, okay, I'm like 8% sure.
Interesting. And I'd love to ask you as well, like, so this is like such a hard question to frame, and I feel like I'm so glad
I still think you're a bigot regardless of what this question is.
Well, at least like the playing field's evil now, so we're good.
I've set the bar low. You can only exceed it.
Amazing. So this is my question, and I feel like I end up discussing this with cis people and like either men or women and like not non-binary people, but I feel like I something that I like struggled to get my head around, and like when I think too much about it, I'm like, oh, it's confusing me, is how does like non-binary and that gender expression fit into the LGBT landscape when we're talking about trans identity? Because if we're saying that, if gender is a social construct when it comes to non-binary people, then like what makes you feel like a woman? Like what is womanhood to you, like, because I feel like they seem like they're opposite constructs, but then it's all part of the same community and it's,
Yeah, well, yeah, so gender is a social construct.
Yeah.
If you were alone in the universe and no one else existed, you probably wouldn't have one.
So true. Okay, right? That's a great way to put it.
So, yeah, it's how you want to present to others in the world, right?
Yeah,
So I am not non-binary. I am quite, binary in a way. But I see gender as different pools of expression. You can think of it as like a 3D space in that there are like certain planets, I guess, or areas. You can, so I feel like when people say it's a spectrum, that kind of implies it's like linear. There's like two ends where
like gay and straight.
I mean, even that's flawed, right?
Yeah,
like,
so true.
so there's many different ways you can express gender, and to every person it's unique and individual, right? And I think from my understanding, non-binary is kind of opting out or saying like, none of these explain me. I kind of want to exist outside of gendered perception.
Okay, and like femininity and masculinity, they are still two social constructs that do exist, because like
how you define femininity is going to be different to how I define and express it.
True, yeah. And I guess it's like, but then in saying that, like, would you consider, like, if we think about the definition of being transgender, would you consider that someone becoming non-binary would mean they've transitioned, or do you think?
So when you're born you are assigned a gender at birth, basically because a doctor or society looks at your genitals and goes, that one or that one, right? Yeah. So if that ever changes, then you are transgender or gender diverse.
Okay, interesting. And like, I think it was so interesting when I was like putting together the stuff that I wanted to know, and like because I'm seeing a guy at the moment as well. We had like a massive, he's so lovely.
The Scottish lad.
Oh yeah, the Scottish lad. Yes. Oh, you've been keeping up like the Cardi, not the Kardashians. That was so cringe. Yeah. But he's so lovely, and like he really is that kind of person that just wants to understand.
Yeah,
and like he's like awesome. He doesn't know anyone that is. I mean, I don't think he has any gay friends, or like even like he would definitely have no trans friends, but he's saying like, oh, like how does this fit into this, and how does this, and like for him, even if he Googles it, like I guess just like wrapping your head around the idea without someone speaking to you in like just plain terms, is really hard. And like when I was putting the questions together, I was, one of the questions I had was, what does being a woman mean to you? And then I was thinking, what does it mean to me? And I was like, like the only, like when I, like my whole life I've kind of thought like, because I don't really think having my period makes me a woman, or having boobs makes me a woman. It's probably the only thing that makes me understand the concept of womanhood is how I am in relation to men. And it's like,
so like, other people. Yeah,
other people and probably other women. Like, but then I think with other women I can be, or I guess with men, it's sort of like I feel like a woman because I like to feel like an underdog. I like men to underestimate my intelligence. I like them to underestimate my capabilities, and then I can prove them wrong. And it's like, if I was a man,
that's interesting.
Yeah, if I was a man, I'd just be like stumbling through this space, just pushing everyone out the way, doing whatever the fuck I wanted. But that's what it means to me.
If you were assigned male at birth, like I was, you'd fundamentally be a different person, right? Because everyone is the sum of their choices in their environment up into the present. Yeah. So that's also how I kind of deal with, if only I knew earlier and all those sorts of questions. And I'm like, well, if I did that, then the trajectory of my life would be different. I wouldn't have met, some near and dear friends of mine. Yep. So moot point, and I can't change the past. Yep. I haven't invented a time machine yet.
Yeah, but soon, hopefully. Yeah. But also, that's the whole thing. It's like, I wouldn't change anything that's happened to me in my life, because I've had some horrible experiences with drugs and like addiction and alcohol, and I've lost friends and all sorts of horrible things, which if you've been listening since episode 1, you would know all about that. Like I had a sober period in COVID and like all sorts of things. And like I think, now I'm so happy and fulfilled. Like I've got a great relationship with my family. I'm like content living back in Melbourne. I've started my own business. I'm going to London for 2 months, like in the summer, to see all my friends. Like,
oh, heck yeah.
But if I didn't do if I didn't have all those bad experiences, I wouldn't get to do what I'm doing right now. So I wouldn't check, because like you said, it's like the butterfly effect, changes the whole trajectory of the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then that's not to say that, traumas may impact you in a bad way.
Yeah. What was the original question? We've gone on philosophical.
Every time. Okay. So my question was going to be, what do you wish people understood, like, that they don't? Like, what do you wish that the world could just like get their head around, and then it would just change things?
So I touched on it earlier. I think fundamentally you have to understand the difference between gender and sex.
Yeah, that's so tough to
that's like around. That's the baseline. Like if someone doesn't understand that concept, then I can't rationally talk about the existence of gender. Like, and it's kind of it's a waste of time trying to convince someone of that, because so back to what we were talking about earlier, I think some people conflate the two. So they define their gender by their biology.
It's so crazy how people are obsessed with what's in your pants. Like if I went up, like it's just like what, it's crazy because a lot of, and it's probably mostly men being like, oh, like are they a man or a woman? Because they're going to base their behavior on her, like your biological sex. And it's like, I just want you to treat me the exact same as you treat a man, actually.
Yeah, it's very telling about the person rather than who they're trying to analyze.
Yeah.
There are so many elements of that don't make sense. Like, you know, the rhetoric that, you know, I'm trans because I want to win at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not very sporty. It's so funny. Like, literally, every now and then, like, I don't think anyone else has this experience. Well, they probably do, but like every 2 or 3 weeks, it's like, I'm banned from this sport. What? I got banned from chess. Yeah, chess just was like, we're going to review this later. Just want a blanket ban on.
Just for now, in case
I'm like, why is chess even gendered? Like,
no, that's
man have bigger brain, move piece better. Like it's
that's
like
so
that,
funny,
right? Like
also, like if trans people are 1% of the population, Olympian trans people are like point.
Yeah, they've gone through like so much trauma and like, you know, there's body image stuff to get through sport to the practically elite level, and it also comes with the assumption that, sport was entirely equal up until that point. It wasn't about, you know, a person's height or privilege and wealth in order to train and whatnot. And also, at the end of the day, it's sport. It's more about participation and, you know, exercise and, you know, socializing. Like,
that's so fascinating. And there's so many other reasons, like you said, that people get a leg up and an advantage in sport that isn't it? Because, like, hypothetically, if someone this is just my brain unraveling it all right now, but like do women have any levels of testosterone, like biologically? So if someone's on like hormone blockers as a woman, hypothetically, a biological like female could have more levels of testosterone than a trans woman could.
Exactly.
So it's like, just from their natural like makeup genetically.
So I love that there's this picture of these two volleyballers that I think are in the Olympics, and it's this one woman that's really tall against this other woman that's like either average or short height, and I'm like, is this fair? Should the tall woman be excluded?
So true. It's like, why do we divide everything by gender? It's like we could divide it by anything, you know?
I mean, I don't know much about a lot of sports, but you know, boxing is by weight. Like there's featherweight, bantamweight.
I'm obsessed with you. Like, this is so interesting to me, honestly, because I just want to ask all these things.
Like, the funniest precedent about like just blanket banning trans women from women's sports is that it says, with no experience or training, I am superior to you, a cis female athlete who has trained at this her whole life. Yeah. None of those cis female athletes are saying, hang on, they're not better than me. What the fuck are you talking about?
And also,
they're the worst allies.
Literally.
It's so funny.
That's so funny. And it's like, what? Yeah, like I definitely couldn't beat any trans men in a sport. You know?
Yeah, like it's an element is skill too. It's not just
because they're
raw, like
if they're trained
physical,
athletes.
You know.
Oh my God, that's so interesting and so smart. I really want to know, because we could yap all day, but I want to know your thoughts on J.K. Rowling, because obviously there's so much chat at the moment. Yeah. She posted that photo on Twitter or X, whatever, smoking a cigar.
Yeah, anyone
I'm like, you're a dickhead.
Smoking a cigar is like a display of positivity like that, like regardless of anything she has said or ever done, anyone smoking a cigar, I mean, like, look at me, I'm cool, like I'm winning at life. It's like it just I'm just glad that she's smoking. Let's put it that way.
That is so funny.
Look, like,
no, I'm gonna cry.
This woman wrote about wizards,
literally,
and used the pen name Robert Galbraith, but No, gender's not real.
Okay, that I've never even thought about. She literally used a male pen name.
Yeah, Robert Galbraith.
No, I'm sorry. That is so funny and true.
Yeah.
I hate her so much, but it's so hard because it's like I really do want to watch the HBO Harry Potter, but now everyone's boycotting. I'm like,
well,
can't we just like, I don't know, kill her off instead? Like,
well, the problem with that is so with the with like that ruling in the UK that kind of defined man and woman by biological sex.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she had a hand in funding that.
That's so crazy.
So
why is the author of a series of wizarding books allowed to influence like government legislation?
Yeah, and then there's so many elements to this. Like, why is this person able to use their platform to spread hate speech? Free speech does not allow. Well, the idea of like free speech, I know it's enshrined in the American Constitution, right? But it doesn't mean you can say hate speech without repercussions.
Yeah.
It doesn't extend to that. I think a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, well, it's almost like this defense for bigotry that people don't consciously.
Yeah, like, why are you hating? Just, like, get off your phone. Like, go talk to a trans person.
Well, like a lot of rhetoric online, like, you work in media. The media model, it's easier to make someone read something if it's inflammatory and divisive.
100%.
And with social media and whatnot, it kind of tailors content that it knows you'll like. So you end up in an echo chamber where your view is affirmed and never really challenged. Yeah. So you kind of end up in these echo chambers or bubbles where you only hear one-sided stuff because it's easier to sell you things. This sounds the most like tinfoil hat.
No, it's just true. I do work in media, and like that's literally the way. Like we're talking about when we talk about like segment and audience targeting. Like they'll literally be like, okay, we want to. I used to work at an agency and we had a gambling brand.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell no. It was so ethically fucked. And like we'd get a brief and it'd be like, we want to target single women over 35. And I'm thinking, why do they want to do that? Because, they're alone.
They got money.
For bingo. I'm like, so you want fucking...
Drag queens.
Yeah.
Done.
You should work in media. But literally, it was like, that is so evil. Like, the way that they think about, like, psychologically, okay, these women are lonely, they've got money, like, they want to get...
You're really realising now that marketing's evil?
Oh, I mean... Whoops. But I was going to say... What was I going to say? Yeah, it's so interesting that you said that about like ending up in a bubble, because this week one of my videos went viral on Instagram and like honestly thousands of shares, hundreds and hundreds of comments, just like horrible men that like I didn't even say anything that bad. I just said that, and it was a joke anyway. It was like women.
I did see that.
Yeah, women like are better at going to the shops, which means we'd like survive better or some bullshit. And it's like the comments are so crazy. Like
I think. Yeah, when I saw that, it was funny. My first thought was like, because I can't remember like the hypothetical context framing that, but it was like, if like men didn't exist or women didn't exist, or
who
both didn't, who would win? I'm like, the non-binary uprising begins and they run the world.
This is what I mean. And like, if it was all females, then like half of them had just like become non-binary. We'd probably have some kind of horrible new divide and then they'd hate each other. It's like,
here's an interesting thought experiment.
Go.
So in this hypothetical of like, okay, if all men are gone and all women are gone, you can't define that.
Yeah, that's it. It's like if it's all just...
Are you talking about men gender or women the gender? And then there are people that are gender fluid, so they just present like X% of the time and they disappear from reality. And like you can't, even in the parameters of that, like even the way you thought of that question was kind of in a binary way because 100%. That's how, that's the patriarchal world we live in.
A meme
right?
I saw that like said that. Like it was like... I think it was just a meme being like, men like can't do anything. And I was like, that's literally so true. Or like, it was like, how hard can it be? Men do it. And then the girl's like, yeah, men do it. Like I could obviously do that, And I'm like, that's so real. Like,
yeah, like I like to look at certain people that have made it way further than they have due to privilege or resources, but they're just, squandering it all and just lucky enough to have a safety net. I'm like, use that confidence. You can do anything.
Yeah. God, that's so interesting. I was going to say as well about...
That's what I miss about being a man. And pockets.
That's so funny. Honestly, though, like pockets thing is so real. These jeans, they have a pocket.
Oh,
it's
hell
like,
yeah.
That's the pocket. Oh, that's
damn.
actually quite
Can
girthy.
you fit a whole phone in there?
I don't know, but I'm like, I feel like it's just not the
fake
one.
pockets. What's going on there?
I know.
That's the real mystery.
Like, what do they want you to think that you're pretending to
It's
hide in them?
gaslighting by garments.
Yeah, that's so fucked. Garment gaslighting is so fucking real.
Gaslighting.
That's so funny.
And then there's like all these people just sending like reviews of clothes with like garment gaslighting.
Garment
Like, I can't open this pocket.
Honestly, get it trending because also like why would you build a fake pocket and not just build a real pocket?
For the aesthetic. Yeah, I know.
Just make it
labor,
real.
cheap, economies of scale.
We talk about it all day. But the main thing on J.K. Rowling, I read this thing that was like, basically she wrote a book, right? Where
What was it called?
I can't remember. We're boycotting it.
Yeah.
But she wrote a book, right, about like where the main themes were like, you know, you've got your heroes and then the villain is someone who wants to wipe out a certain section of humanity. So
I'm in.
the Muggles sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Or like the Mudbloods, whatever they want to call it. And then the heroes fight back against that and achieve equality for all at the end. And so she's written that story.
Right.
You know, like he kills Voldemort, whatever. And like the whole reason they're evil is because they want to kill off the Muggles. And it's like that's like the evil overarching force. And she wrote that. And then she can't see how ironic it is that she's, you know, a turd.
Well, the thing is that she obviously thinks that her worldview is right and that a lot of the rhetoric that happens from this is that they think, you know, children are in danger and being indoctrinated. And so from their point
in danger? What's the danger? Well,
there's a lot of like the you know, the statistics on like regret rates, but then of like, you know, medically transitioning or like, you know, kids being, you know, not coerced, that's too strong, but like kind of convinced that they can go down this path without learning of the repercussions. And a lot of it is just simply not true.
Yeah. Where are they getting those stats from? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's the regret rates of tattoos and knee replacements and other surgeries is higher than the detransition regret rate. A lot of people focus on detransitioners and the struggles that they have, which, you know, some are valid. Like if someone, you know, medically changes their body in a way and then they realize that they've made mistakes like that, I don't want to say that invalidates their experience, but that should not be used to prohibit other people from exploring their gender identity or changing their body through consent and information and medical expertise.
And therapy and stuff too.
To, you know, feel happy, you know, in their own skin.
Like, do you think people get therapy before they go get a BBL in Turkey? I doubt it. Do you reckon? I mean, I'm just like, or people go and get like their hairline done in Turkey.
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of gender affirming care that people do that they don't recognize. Like,
people do it.
Painting your nails is gender affirmation. Like,
makes
it's not
you feel
just
more
clothing.
feminine.
Like, you know, plucking your eyebrows. There's so many things to do. But I guess the point I was making with like the detransitioners is that people focus on the suffering of detransitioners being like, oh no, they're you know, they're in a body or a place where they can't express and be themselves and they've gone back. And it's like,
ironic.
That's the same logic. If you apply that logic to people that are trans and can't transition, it's the same issue.
It's the same logic.
Like,
it's like
the only valid trans experience is someone detransitioning?
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're stuck in a body they don't want to be in.
Yeah.
You just proved your own point.
And also, with no other like life decision, does delaying that decision kind of make it worse off in that you will go through a puberty you never wanted to go through, and that's fucking traumatic. Like, people worry about the body horror of being transformed against, you know, your will or something into something else, but puberty naturally does that to someone.
Oh my god, yeah. And it does it like, that's so interesting.
And also, like, one thing I also don't see is that, you know, puberty blockers are reversible.
Yeah, are they?
Well,
What, so you
I'm
would
no
go through
doctor,
it if you did it to like 20 and then you could
I think it depends on what age you start them and how long you take them for.
Okay.
But there is a window where there are no lifelong repercussions.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's kind of like putting puberty on pause.
Yeah, okay.
Until
they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's about empowering and giving people choice.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
There's so many other elements to this. I'm not the best. This is just what I know. There are more knowledgeable people. There are more better organizations and medical professionals that can talk.
And I'll put some resources in the episode description as well. I really want to talk to you because
you haven't even asked me who I've boned.
I know.
This is what this podcast is about.
Literally. Okay, we need to get to that. It's very important information. So tell me about your dating life because that's literally what I want to know about. When do you disclose that you're trans? Like, how are you?
Okay.
Yeah. Shagging.
So where I'm at.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Let me put it this way. If you spent 30,000 Australian dollars on your genitals, you'd want to get your money's worth.
So true. I've spent none and I want to get my money's worth.
Yeah, so I was in a 6-year-long relationship where halfway through that you came out, which it happens.
I'm just thinking about that
so
quote.
For the first 2 years, for the last 2 years, so I'm 29. It's been the first time in my life I'm single, bi and female. And the last 12 months has been the first time in my life I've had a vagina. Okay. As well as like last 6 months of like being able to use it.
Yeah, what's the healing process? Like
so like I'd say like 6 months. So what I had to do was so I had surgery, I was in hospital for a week. And then in a hotel on a bed for another 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
I did it in the aptly named Bangkok. It's the best in the world for gender affirmation, like bottom surgery. They're
progressive with it, aren't they? In Thailand?
Yeah, I think Thailand, culturally, they did have like more genders, like as an indigenous population, maybe. I haven't really looked thoroughly into it, but I think that's why. And they were also never colonized by any country. So they're one of the
really?
Yeah, they have their own monarchy still.
Oh my god, yeah, they do.
All the other a lot of other countries around it were colonized at some point, and it's really interesting seeing that like colonialism brings in like basically like homophobia and transphobia and stuff.
So real.
Aside from that,
got the vagina.
History lesson. Yeah, got the vag. So I spent like basically 4 weeks on my ass until I could like fly back to Melbourne. I got like a lovely donut pillow. I just told people, it's my hemorrhoid pillow.
Amazing.
Just because I just found that funny. Just be like, I got hemorrhoids. What of it?
Yeah.
So I still have it. It's very good for office days.
Love that.
But recovery. So every day I had to dilate for an hour, which means. So initially, before I researched surgery, I thought it meant you had to move it in and out, but you don't. You just got to leave it in for, there's different types of vaginoplasty you can get. Different surgeons will say different periods of dilation.
It's like braces. Like it just holds it in place and then
so because it in a way you can say it's an open wound and you don't want it to fully heal, right?
Like an ear piercing.
Yeah, a very big ear piercing.
Really big one,
Yeah. That's a very funny way of putting it. So basically the recovery was like, okay, now before I went to bed, I put a very long glass dildo in me.
Okay, I interviewed someone with MRKH, which is Maya Rokotansky Kusterhauser syndrome. So she was born.
I love that band.
Yeah, favorite band. They're from like Germany or something.
Yeah.
But she had to do the same thing when she was like 16 because she was born without a vaginal canal. So
so dilating. That's what that is.
Yeah.
For all the men that watch this podcast.
There we go.
So I had to do that for 6 months, but then also the thing that takes the longest to heal is all the nerve endings. So 4.5 months, no orgasms was fun.
That sounds really fucked.
And let's say like the sensations felt like almost like touching like a burn. It was just like, something's here and it feels weird.
Yeah. And is that like, because when, I just don't know much about nerve endings and science. Yeah. So like when we're talking about orgasms, obviously first question is like,
can I get one?
Yeah. Well, does it feel different to when you had orgasms before? Like, how does that process change?
So like anatomically, the fetus has ovary or like precursor ovaries, uterus,
I read about this.
And then they fall out, right?
Oh,
and that is basically scrotum and penis. So you can kind of the same kind of nerves at the tip of the bell end and frenulum are basically like a clitoris. The penis is a clitoris on a stick.
Okay, I actually read this book, Come As You Are, all about this. Like it's the same parts, just arranged differently.
Exactly. So there's no external bits. It's all me.
Yeah.
Wow. So basically they just moved the nerves to a different spot. So I don't know the science. I was asleep.
What does a nerve look like? Never really thought about it.
I don't know.
How do they
the
move?
Question of the day.
Oh, I just thought nerves were like this hypothetical idea that like...
Well, like the nervous system is like, it's almost like veins in that they're all throughout you.
I faint when I talk about blood, so we can't talk about veins.
Don't look at the carpet. Don't look at the carpet. Don't look at the carpet or the phone. So I can have orgasms. They're great.
Oh my God. Do you think
vibrators are the best? I guess it's more the I guess it does feel different. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe in that it's funny. I kind of almost have two different clits.
Okay.
Because I think some nerves were used as like, okay, this is the aesthetic clitoris, but then there's a spot in
like a G-spot.
5 centimeters further up, but externally, but it's not internal. Okay, and I'm like, that spot's better.
Like, okay,
interesting.
That's really interesting.
So
you got all kinds of things.
I still have a prostate gland. So fluid still comes out.
What is prostate gland like? Makes the sperm?
Good. I don't actually know so I know semen and sperm mix in there, or there is just the fluid that goes with sperm to make semen.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Testicles are the sperm factories. A surgeon stole them from me. Don't know
where are they now?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask the lovely Dr. Hart in Canberra. So I had an orchidectomy.
Is that before the vaginoplasty?
So I had it in November 22.
Okay.
Yeah. So no nut November. Which is really funny.
Are a comedian.
Yeah, right. Well,
really funny.
Well, I did ask him, can I keep them? Because it's in little jars.
I said no.
I had friends that were like, I can make earrings.
You could sell them for a load of money.
One could dangle lower than the other and it'd be anatomically accurate.
Oh my God.
But he was like, no, legally I can't. I'm like, probably one person took them home as medical waste. A dog ate it and probably got sick and died, and they probably tried to sue. Some crap precedent like that probably happened.
I reckon they chuck everything in a big furnace. Because I had my appendix out and I was like, where is it? And he's like, it's just gone. I'm like, but
it exploded when they took it out.
But I think they chuck it down a little hatch and it just goes in a big furnace.
They fed it to a dog.
Yeah, probably. It's on the black market or something. I
have a little anecdote though.
Go. So
I slept with this lovely trans girl. And I was telling her about I couldn't keep my testicles, and she's like, "Oh, that's weird. Can I show you something?" I'm like, "What?" And she opens her bedside table, pulls out. She had a vasectomy, so she hadn't had a bottom surgery, but she had a vasectomy, and the little bits of her vas deferens, the tubes that carry your sperm from your testicle to the prostate and the rest of your body, and that gets folded over or cut out. I don't know the details. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Or a lawyer.
So does it mean that she couldn't?
So she had little bits of of the vas deferens in
in a jar.
In a jar. I'm like, that's sick. I love that.
What country was that in? I'm sure.
Yeah.
What?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Maybe she was mates rates type thing with a doctor.
I don't know.
That's so random.
I was like, if I was anyone else in the different sense of humor, I would be quite disturbed.
Yeah.
But I just found it hilarious.
That's so interesting.
I feel
like it's like when you get your leg amputated, it's like, where's my leg? Like where is it going?
Yeah,
like,
well, like, can't you keep? Sure, I grew it. It's mine.
Yeah.
Can I have it?
That's literally couldn't be more mine. I made it.
Yeah.
Like, I invented that.
DNA test that.
Yeah. Literally. Well, that's so interesting. And then with like things like Grindr, dating apps, like how do you approach all of that? Because I'm sure that you have a billion funny stories, but just hit me with your best moments.
God.
Yeah.
So, well, I am bisexual, so that means I go on all the apps.
Awesome.
You know, I tend to be more attracted to masked men and femme women. But, you know, I'm open to like, you know, every now and then I see like a masked woman or like a femme man, like a bisexual cutie man. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am on all the apps. I think Grindr's the funniest. It's like the frontier, Wild West. It's chaos.
I've seen it on my old workmate's phone. We used to go on it at work and find all the big bosses on there and stuff. And like, close it.
So one of the funniest things I find is that I think because Tinder was like the first big dating app, and that's like it's got like the swiping model.
Yeah.
And because Grindr rhymes with that, I think they assume it's the same, but for gay men.
Yeah.
But no, it's purely, as you would know, it's proximity based in that you can talk to anyone if they're close like the first 20 people that are X kilometers away.
Yep.
Based on filters like there's gender, there's tribe, so like
so you can go on there
there are trans women on there. Anyone of any gender can go on it.
So I could go on it.
Yeah. You'll get flooded with, I guess, bi guys sending dick pics or straight guys sending dick pics.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, I'm so going to download it just weird. For a social experiment.
It's the strangest thing that the norm is that people will, like, let's face it, predominantly men who will send a message just saying hi. Or like, hi, how are you? And then just like 4 dick pics. Like that's
I'm going to do this as a social experiment.
And as someone that used to have a penis, like the photography is so bad.
Honestly,
like,
get your
come
angles
on.
right.
Like literally, that's some of the responses. I have a folder on my phone of just like, I've collated some responses.
Yeah.
And even like mine says, you know, I'm like post-op, I'm bi, you know, I'm looking for friends with benefits.
Yeah.
You know, and even saying that like I want to get my money's worth from your bottom set because I think, you know, being upfront and honest about your expectations is very important in dating context so you don't cross wires and, you know, there's no mismatch. But I still get people who just don't read that. They're too busy in like horny goon brain that are just like, me fuck you now, where you? I want to use you as my gay experiment. And I'm like, well, what? I don't even have a penis. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
If I sneeze too hard, it might come back. I don't know. Bring a feather and some pepper. We'll see what happens. Oh, what? You actually have a wife? And you're telling me you have a wife and you don't know that she's... you haven't told her that you're on here and you're just cheating on her. And not only are you cheating on her, you're confident enough to tell me that. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Honestly, there's so many guys on there that cheat on their wives. My friend used to always shag. Yeah. Well, like he'd be like in Wales and stuff and yeah, and then like because in small towns and that there's just no gay guys because out gay guys because there's not many people.
The drought of the homosexual.
Yeah, the homosexual drought. And like they just like roll up in a van and be like, quick, we've got to be fast. And
does the van stop?
Yeah.
Is it like those movies where like the train's running and then it's like running somewhere jumping?
He has to jump in on the mattress on the back. And then he's like, oh fuck, my wife's calling. All right, I'll drop you home. And like it's just crazy.
Yeah, so
that whole dynamic, men are so horny, it's crazy. Like
I get it.
Yeah.
It's a part of it is a testosterone thing, part of it is a cultural thing. There's an entitlement element of patriarchy, and that's for episode 2 and 3 of the podcast that we will do.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like I'm like intimidating you to bring me back on.
No, like I want you to back on because there's so much I want to ask. I want to ask quickly. Wait, unless you were going to have a point. I can't remember it.
My dating experiences on apps.
Oh,
weird and wonderful. I should say there are lots of lovely people that are very respectful.
Yay. We like that.
Unfortunately, they're rarer.
Fair.
But another interesting phenomenon I find that I wanted to share with the world is that it's predominantly men, but there are people who will match with me, you know, based on like seeing my appearance.
Yep.
Going, okay, there's a woman. They might not read my profile. We'll match. I'll send them a message. That makes them go, oh. And then they'll read my profile and then unmatch.
Because you're trans.
I assume it's because of that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what else.
Unless they're just swiping yes to everyone.
Unless it's like, I feel like men swiping it's a volume game, whereas
it's
for
so
women,
weird.
it's like, the first question women would ask, like, do I feel safe with this person?
Literally, I'm like, I think that they would like become a domestic abuser in 5 years' time?
Are they not problem? Like, I want to make sure they're problematic and feel safe. Whereas men don't have to think about that in the same way. And I think
that's so real.
I think that needs to be communicated. Well, that needs to be understood by everyone in society, I think, because
your safety is your first priority.
Yeah, because, there are some men that are like, I don't want to make the first move and make mistakes. And, I don't want to come across as a creep. Like, there are so many issues that stem. Yeah, and yes, but it's more that like, I'm struggling to be confident and like, I feel like possibly obligated to be the one driving connection and intimacy, but there's a balance to be struck, like, but that's only people that critically think. Yeah. So there's not a lot of people who just live in day to day, it's very easy to live paycheck to paycheck. And,
God, that's so interesting.
Only focus on aesthetics and the next 2 weeks ahead, Yeah,
and I think a lot of men feel that way. And that kind of leads well into my last question, which was thinking about, because for me, I feel like a huge part of being a woman is, and like, I hate that this is the reality, but I'm 31 now. And like, I know, and it's like feeling like your value, like society puts all this value on women needing to be mothers, and like if women get past an age of their like, their youth, when they're like looking like sexually attractive and all these things, it's like so many women get like pushed to the side or disregarded by society. And so I'm thinking like a lot about how that makes me feel at the moment. And in terms of having kids, I feel this like really intense pressure to decide. Like I'm thinking I'm leaning more towards no, but I'm also like, I don't want to miss out.
Could be persuaded.
And, like if I had the right relationship, and I've kind of settled on like, unless I'm with someone who I really trust and is supportive and like earns as much money as me and like all those things, it's a no. But like would like, question?
Oh, I guess you wouldn't, let's say you wouldn't have children if you didn't have a partner? Like, I understand financially it's better, but like you could get a sperm donor and have children that way and be a single parent.
I couldn't do it on my own because I'm too anxious. Like, I think I'd be too lonely and stressed. I think like it's just not something I would want to do. Like, I mean,
that's healthy to acknowledge and rule out, right?
And I think it's just like for me, I would do it if I had someone who could do 50% of the work because I just couldn't do it by myself.
Yes, a whole other issue is the expected labor of.
That's it. And I'm not doing 90%.
Hetero relationships. Yeah. And
I'd love a stay-at-home dad. Like, honestly.
I think there's studies that show that dads that do more of the like domestic labor and spend time with the child are more connected, and it's more equitable throughout, I guess, maybe the rest of the relationship or the rest of that child's like adolescence until they're 18.
Yeah, 100%. And my question was going to be
it's more about choice, because I know people would have different arrangements of like, this person works and gets the money, and this person is at home, and it's more about the choice and not the expectation.
100%. And then it's like if people don't view motherhood and raising kids as labor, then that's just completely backwards and unfair, because it's like, I mean, in the olden days, if the man's the breadwinner, that means the woman's full-time job is raising this family. But now we both need to work. Yeah. And the woman still comes home and is expected to cook dinner.
The 40-day work week was based on the understanding that there'd be a woman at home raising the kids.
Yeah. But now women are expected to do that on top of their 9 to 5.
Yeah. And also if you got married, you'd have to quit your job.
Yeah.
Like there's so many
crazy
norms from that. But I think you're trying to say
I was going to ask if you feel pressures like that. And also I hope this is a fine question to ask.
Go for it. Yes.
Childbearing. Did you keep any sperm?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How does that work?
Well, so before, as part of the informed consent model of starting HRT, which is basically
hormone replacement.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy. Yeah. I think most people hear that term in terms of cisgender women dealing with menopause, and they'll take like estrogen or progesterone and other sex hormones. So basically, I came at 25, went to see a GP in Canberra. That model of consent says like, hey, these are the possible side effects. Not side effects, that sounds negative, but like these are the things that can happen. I want you to understand these things before you start taking hormones.
Yeah, okay.
So there's 2 elements to HRT in that one series of drugs lowers testosterone and one introduces estrogen because everyone has them in different ratios.
That's what I thought when I was talking about Olympians before.
Yeah. So as part of that, your testes shrink, and so that reduces your sperm count and production. So before I went on HRT, I decided to freeze some sperm.
Amazing.
Which is a great experience. Highly recommend.
What, you just go
greatest wank of your life.
Is it? What? Why?
No, it's not.
I just imagine you go into this room and they've just got porn everywhere, all over the walls and stuff.
Well, I had a trans female friend tell me, because she did the same thing, and she was like, "Look, the silver lining for me was getting to see the old porno mags." But I went in and they were like, "Oh, because of COVID, we can't provide them." I'm like,
what am I going to
You're lucky I have a vivid imagination.
Oh, see, I couldn't.
And a mobile phone with data.
No, that's so. Was it? Oh, so you didn't even see the mags because it's like full bush and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what I looked at online.
Yeah. Oh, so true.
I just look at bushes.
Yeah, it's just bush.
Did you mean George? No, not George.
Oh my God, that's so good. We did find
George Senior.
When I was a kid, we found like old porno mags in my friend's dad's shed, and so like we'd always go in there and look at them and be like, "Oh my God, like, this is so crazy!" And it was like proper vintage. Like I don't know how long they've been in there, but like, I was like, these are actually like these would fucking go hard on Tumblr. Like
yeah,
the camera.
Oh yeah, that point in Tumblr where they were like, "We're not gonna have pornography."
Yeah, everyone's like
80% of the user base is just like, what?
Delete. Bye.
What was the original question about?
Do you feel the pressures of like aging in the same way that, because I feel like, okay, that's interesting because it's something that's been like turning 30. I was like, holy shit, my life's over.
I feel like major life milestones, like I guess like, fertility, having children, getting married.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say buying a house because I still need a house.
Oh God.
Everyone needs one. But those things are very, dare I say, cis heteronormative. Like a lot of those rules and things just don't apply because
I'm so jealous of that.
Well, it's kind of liberating in a way because I feel like a lot of people can feel obligated or trapped in that way. Like I was so I also, shout out to my family that they are not very traditional and they're not religious. They're quite secular and open-minded. Yeah. So that helps a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess, for example, like I am infertile. I've got my kids are in the sperm egg. They're in the fridge.
In Canberra?
Yeah, what? I assume. I haven't checked on them. There's not like a baby cab.
Go get them.
Yeah, just drive up 7 hours each way. Well, like it was I assume it'll be transported or. Well, even then, like, will I use them? I'm bi. If I settle down with a long-term partner, are they going to be AFAB?
Yeah. Wait, what's that?
Assigned female at birth. So meaning they have, the female reproductive organs to use the sperm.
Yeah.
Is it a sunk cost fallacy where I feel obligated to use it because I spent so much money in like preservation of them? There is a time limit on it. Sperm only lasts way longer than eggs, but
well, in the
10
freezer.
years?
In the freezer even.
10?
Whoa.
Whereas eggs are the kind of limiting or the more volatile.
I don't know how they can go and freeze a sperm and eggs and they can't freeze a human. And they can freeze them out.
They don't freeze humans. They just don't live.
No, but figure that out. Isn't Walt Disney's like frozen right now waiting to get reanimated?
Yeah.
That's something he would do.
That's real. I mean, it's as real as any other conspiracy.
I think it's not a conspiracy. I feel like it's fully real.
I reckon he is alive.
Like a fact.
I reckon he walks among us. I reckon he walks in lots of android bodies.
That's so true.
He lives among us in the shadows.
He actually does. Well, I feel like that's such a great note to end on, and it's been so awesome having you. Like, this has been. I always think
this has been 5 months in the making.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm so blessed to have had you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and
I'm so happy to be in a room that also has a life-size statue of Maddie and a drum kit.
I'm gonna interview her soon.
I'm gonna put out that needs to be addressed because that's amazing.
I know. It'll be in an episode soon. But if you have any questions for Lana as well,
hit me
please,
up. I'm an open book.
Yeah, let me know. I'll put it like contact stuff in the description and hit me up on Insta. But we definitely need to do another ep because I have a million more questions.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.